Hello and welcome to our School for Discipleship weekly email and this video summary of something that we've been teaching here at our School for Discipleship at Woodbury Avenue in Bournemouth. And welcome if you're subscribing, if you've got the Bible College in a box and joining us in this kind of community of learning that we're trying to develop. I hope you are getting into studying the Bible for yourself, using our textbooks and other resources. Now, as we study the Bible book by book, and we do it here on a Wednesday in Bournemouth, we want to study applied theology. So how does the Bible apply to the whole of life? And that includes some of the difficult issues we have to face. And so for today, in this weekly mail, I want to share with you a conversation I've just had with a good friend of ours who is from Bethlehem. Now, Grace Agubri is someone who we've had interviewed and shared some of the content with the Lansdowne Church in an evening on the Israel-Gaza conflict. And I wanted to share this with you because in terms of an issue like Middle East politics, the relationship of the State of Israel to the problem of the Palestinian situation in the West Bank and Gaza, it's helpful to reflect on it theologically, and we can do that. We can think about what the Bible has to say about this situation, but also in a very humane way by talking to people actively involved in what's going on. Now, Grace is from Bethlehem, as I say. Her parents are involved in ministry there. Her father is a pastor of a church in Bethlehem, and Grace has friends in Gaza as well as a Palestinian Arab Christian. What a complicated situation this is, and our prayers should be there for this difficult situation in the Middle East. And in terms of our discipleship, what does the Bible have to say? Now, we will touch on these issues as the months go by, and I'd encourage you to reflect. Don't just be caught up in social media and some of the rhetoric of the world that makes everything so polarized. It's either this or it's that. That can be so unhelpful in our theology. Instead, let's reflect carefully on this situation. There are many books I could recommend on the Israel-Gaza situation and interesting stories of people from those circumstances. I can mention those in later weeks. To be honest with you, in terms of understanding the kind of history and what's going on right now, non-Christian writers can be very useful as well as theologians and biblical writers. I found this book really helpful by Walter Russell Mead, which is it's not a Christian book as such, but it's a reflection from the perspective of quite an objective writer called The Ark of a Covenant. And it's the Ark of the Covenant between America and Israel in the Middle East. So he looks at the last 150 years in terms of the political context of what's been going on in the Middle East. It's a very useful book. Of course, we want to go further than that and reflect on it theologically as well. But before we get into issues of the state of Israel and the Jewish people and all those perplexing situations, I really wanted to share this with you. So it's a short conversation with Grace. As I say, she now works for the Bible Society, and this call is from her in Sri Lanka, where she was a couple of days ago. But I want to share this with you as a reflection from somebody with family and friends in the area on the circumstances right now and how we can be praying for the people in Gaza and step outside of the news and all of the polarized debate and just think about the humanity of the situation. So I hope you find this helpful. Grace, it's lovely to see you again. And obviously, circumstances are changing yet again in the Middle East. And I'd love to just ask you, first of all, about how your family are in Bethlehem.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris, and thank you once again for this opportunity to share about the Palestinian Christians in Bethlehem, particularly. And obviously, this is a deeply personal matter of prayer for me. My family are doing well by God's grace, but life in Bethlehem continues to be difficult. Obviously, it's better than it was last year, as there is a time of ceasefire now. The challenges persist. The city is small and historic, but daily life carries the weight of oppression, restrictions on movement, for example, limited economic opportunities. It was encouraging at Christmas to see some change of atmosphere where there were festive lights and yeah, a good percentage of tourists visiting the town. But of course, once this has vanished, the Yeah, the daily realities continue to be there. Young people, for example, struggle to envision a stable future. Many families live with uncertainty, and there's a pressure of tensions, and you can feel these heavily. But through it all, my family and church continue to share the love of God in so many ways. I think our calling and message is to reach out to people first and foremost with the message of salvation to encourage them at this time and to help them see Jesus through it all.
Wonderful. Great to hear you saying that, Grace. Can you just tell us a little bit more about any news from Gaza? Because obviously that's been the real focus. We know there are tensions in West Bank and across the whole region, but do you have any news from Gaza?
Yes, I do actually. So, of course, Gaza continues to endure immense trials. Life there for the Palestinian Christian community is shaped by scarcity, limited electricity, water, and basic necessities. The 600 Palestinian Christians are still taking refuge, mainly in the two churches, the Orthodox Church and the Catholic Church. They continue to face daily struggles, of course, in such a limited and constrained space. Most of them are not able to return to their homes because their homes have been demolished. Many people are actually now waiting for an opportunity to leave Gaza and to immigrate. So they're still waiting whether an open door will be there. Throughout the past 2 years, actually, the percentage of Christians in Gaza has dropped by 50%, which is tragic. And of course, 5% of that Christian community were either killed by the war or died because of lack of medical resources and access to medical care and so on. Of course, the economic situation continues to be desperate. People are highly dependent on relief. It's not always possible for relief to reach people, but in these difficult circumstances, people continue to hold on to hope and faith and prayer. And that's where we see God's presence in such circumstances. And of course, I'm encouraged by the words of Jesus. Come to me, all who are weary and heavy burdened. And I believe that the people of Gaza within the Christian community experience these words on a day-to-day basis.
Not everyone realizes that there are Christians in Gaza. From the news,
Mhm.
people think that it's all Islamic, but of course, there is a church, there are God's people there in Gaza too. Grace, where would people tend to emigrate to if they want to escape? Where would they
Mhm.
want to emigrate to?
So it depends which door opens, but some people have tried to get to Egypt as a first location and then travel onwards to other countries in the West, like Sweden or Denmark or other places in Europe. But also, many people are waiting to see if they can get to Australia, which is obviously quite a distance from Gaza, and quite a change. There have been a few people who have successfully managed to do so. And yeah, some are still waiting. And unfortunately, sometimes one member of the family gets permission, but the other member wouldn't. So a husband can get permission and not the wife or one spouse or so obviously that disconnects families and then just adds quite a bit of pressure on people as they wait and see. But even as I say that, just imagining the future in Gaza is really difficult because, obviously everything has been destroyed, and how could you rebuild your lives again in such a situation? Imagine children have been without schools for 2 years, and even adults or university students, no access to university or any sort of education whatsoever. So life is harsh
Oh, yeah.
for them.
And Grace, I'm just asking you to speculate. I'm not asking you to give,
Mhm.
confident predictions. But what do you think is the hope, or what is your hope for Gaza? And I mean that in terms of can it realistically in the next 10, 20 years, will it be incorporated into Israel? Will it be incorporated into Egypt? Will it become an independent, a more a viable independent state? I mean, what do you hope for?
Yes, well, all scenarios are possible, and one can only speculate. Nothing is really certain, particularly with the scenario of complex and changing political dynamics. But I think, as a Christ follower, my ultimate hope is that people, as they get anchored in God's promises, they will know for sure that it is not circumstances that will really strengthen them at this time. It is the Lord and His grace. I long for a future where the children in Gaza can grow up in safety with the freedom to learn and worship and pursue their dreams without fear. And I just can't imagine how this might happen. So this is a really difficult question. I constantly pray for a land where people can flourish together, from different backgrounds, from different religions. The land is spacious and it can fit everyone. And I think it's just sad that people are struggling this way. However, this witness continues for the church, and I think that witness of the Christians in Gaza continues to shine brightly. So ultimately, I really hope for a better future for them in peace and safety, and justice, of course. When we think of rebuilding lives, rebuilding homes, you said 10 to 20 years, but just can't imagine how long that will take. There are so many wounds that need healing, so many things that need to be restored, reconciliation. When we think about relationships and memories, people are still struggling through so many traumas. Our promise from the Lord is that He will wipe away every tear, and that death will be no more, neither there will be mourning. So we hold on tightly to that in the meantime, and just pray for God to use us in different ways. Physically, we're not there, but I think our prayers change a lot, and thank you for this opportunity to pray for those who are struggling at this time.
Thank you, Grace. I love how you've conveyed that godly hope for the land and for the people throughout all of this trauma. And certainly, the least we can do is to be a people of prayer and upholding people and praying for God's healing. As you say, there's deep trauma that needs healing in the years to come. Grace, thank you so much for your time sharing this, and be assured we look forward to seeing you sometime in person. We'll get you down
Yeah,
to Lansdowne Church and do that. Thank you.
that would be great. I look forward to that, Chris, and thanks again for your prayer.
So that was Grace Zugubri sharing with me just a few days ago her understanding of the situation right now in Gaza and West Bank, and of course more widely in Israel. So please do pray for the situation there. And in weeks to come, we'll have more theological reflection and that application of theology, even to situations like the conflict in the Middle East. This is applied theology at its best when we're reflecting on real circumstances, real situations, and real people's problems. So hopefully that's helpful for your prayers anyway. And do pray for Grace and her husband Michael, and maybe we'll hear more from them in a future week. But thank you for joining with us on this School for Discipleship journey, and we'll be back next week with another weekly email. Today we had Peter Baker sharing on church history, a whole afternoon on church history, and that's an area we would like to share a little bit more about in our weekly emails. So thanks for watching. Enjoy the Bible College in a Box, and let's be in touch soon.